Hey guys, we have a couple of real tragedies in our hot topic today, so we try to keep things real dramatic when we separate truth from rumors, and I tell the story of Fleetwood Mac. Stay tuned.
What up, fam? What up, fam? It's good, y'all. Feels good, right? Good, right? Yeah, I know it do. And without further ado, we broadcasting live from CA to NY.
The Disney star who died, Cameron Boyce.
Oh, okay, yeah, tell me about that because I don't know anything about it.
So he's a little boy. He was only 20, but he was mostly known because played Adam Sandler and Salma Hayek's son in the Grown Ups franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was on some Disney show called Descendants, which I never watched, but Mateo and Bella did.
Wait, hold up. Adam Sandler and Salma Hayek were in a movie together?
Yeah, they were married in a movie together.
That's weird.
That actually, like, Adam Sandler movies have gone really, 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 really downhill, but that Grown Ups movie was like one of the best ones.
Really?
In a long time. Yeah, it's just funny. Like, it's just them talking shit to each other, and it's cute. And his sons are cute. Like, this little boy Cameron's cute.
Okay. But
anyways, on July 6th, he died in his sleep due to a seizure, which his family said had to do with a condition that was, like ongoing, but they didn't say what the condition was. So then everybody took to Instagrams, like giving their condolences and talking about what a great kid he was. And the autopsy is pending further investigation at this time.
So he died of what? Maybe he, not to get too morbid, but he possibly choked on his own vomit or something like that.
Maybe. I think they think he was epileptic.
Yeah, but the seizure itself is not necessarily going to kill you.
Yeah.
I guess
there's some other thing.
Well, I guess if you like it was the middle of the night, so if he's like not being monitored or,
Right.
Oh, that's really
so
sad.
20 years old.
Also, the pitcher from the Angels died too, huh?
I know. Do they know why?
I'm sure they know why because the police said that there was no foul play.
Foul play?
But it was very shocking and random.
In a hotel room in Texas. He was 27 years old.
Wow.
But they're not saying that it's suicide.
What's his name?
Skaggs. Tyler Skaggs.
Ooh. So, okay, not suicide, no foul play.
Overdose?
Maybe. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Me too. Hotel room. It has all the signs of an overdose.
Or it's like, remember when the news anchor, we talked about that, died in a hotel room and they were like, no foul play. And he was found with like meth in his butt. This is definitely it's a meth butt situation.
It was like his male affair, right?
Mm-hmm.
His male counterpart plus meth in his butt. Like all his secrets came out. That's one of my favorite things that we've talked about because we start laughing. Like imagine you die and all your secrets come out.
No. That's why you gotta have a friend that like
will clean your shit up.
Yep. You need somebody to know the password to your computer.
Yup. That's true though.
And then come in and do what's that movie with Amy Adams where like they clean crime scenes?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it.
I think it's called like Sunshine Cleaning or something like that.
Oh yeah.
We need to have a service like that, but that's for your digital life. Like someone that comes in and cleans your digital life.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god, I watched the worst movie last night.
What?
The Matador's Mistress. Have you ever seen it, May?
No.
Oh my god, don't. It's fucking horrible. Penelope Cruz and Adrian Brody, okay?
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bullfighter.
Yeah, I will never watch that.
It's so fucking bad.
Low-key,
I was like, I'm going to watch this just to see them Mac.
I will never watch a movie with Adrian Brody.
They never got to Mackin.
Oh.
Yes, you will. Shut up.
No,
you like the Darjeeling Limited.
Yeah, that's the last one.
You like all the Wes Anderson movies and he's in them.
No, that's the only one he's in.
Really?
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's in oh no, I'm thinking of Woody Allen. Midnight in Paris.
Yeah, and I don't...
Same vibe.
And I don't really care for Midnight in Paris that much.
Oh, I love that movie. Oh, he's in Grand Budapest Hotel too.
Oh, that's right. And that's the Wes Anderson movie I like the least.
I never seen that one.
I actually saw it in the theater. I had to because my boo is in it.
Yeah, his career really fell off.
Adrian Brody?
Yeah. I wonder if he's a dick.
That's what you get for forcibly kissing Halle Berry on stage for the world to see.
I was thinking about that actually because I was watching this movie and I was like, man, if this were to happen now,
Oh yeah.
he would have been fucking dragged.
Oh man. They would have dragged what little career he has left.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy though, because he was like, I mean, he's one of those actors who won an Oscar.
And he was like a baby.
He wasn't that young, was he?
I think he's the youngest actor to win Best Actor.
Actually,
he
you're
was like
right.
28.
Yeah. Damn. And he like completely fell off after that.
Yeah.
He's got a very particular face though. You know, it's like
what more could he do? Like, I don't know.
It's like you don't cast that face in I don't know, a romantic comedy.
Right.
A money grab after, because usually you win the Oscar, then you do like a romantic comedy money grab. You're not.
Right.
They're not
going to
get
divorced.
Yeah, they're not gonna put you opposite. I don't know.
Reese Witherspoon.
Right.
I would watch Reese Witherspoon and Adrian Brody Mac though.
Hey, you know who else fell off?
I'll watch everybody Mac.
An Adrian Brody type that fell off. The guy who played Jesus in the Passion of the Christ.
Oh, who was that?
Something Jim Caviezel or something.
Oh wow.
He was like, all right, he's like in the biggest movie of the decade or something.
Seriously.
And then like completely falls off.
That sucks. So did that French actor who was in the silent film.
Oh, Jean Dujardin.
Yeah, he was just in Wolf of Wall Street, and then that's it.
Oh, I don't remember him being in Wolf of Wall Street.
He has like a very, very small role as a banker.
I like him a lot though. He's in these sort of spoof, think like a more serious Austin Powers type of
that's fun.
Of French movies. The first one is called OSS 117, and it's so good. It was like one of my favorite movies that I saw that year that it came out. It's so good. And I just saw him in like a movie that was kind of shitty with homegirl Melanie Laurent from she was in Inglourious Bastards, and she was in Beginners.
Mm-hmm.
I like her a lot. She doesn't work enough.
Yeah, she fell off.
Yep. This is the People Who Fell Off podcast.
Next, we're going to talk about Katherine Heigl. And then we're talking about really falling off.
Hilary Swank.
Oh, man.
No, I won't hate on Hilary Swank, though, because I really like that new Netflix movie she's in.
Which one?
I Am Mother.
Oh, yeah. Damn, Hilary Swank did fall off. It's because she started doing that fucking Gangster's Paradise type shit.
Gangster's Paradise? What?
Freedom Writers. Remember that stupid ass movie?
Oh. Yeah, I did not see that movie.
Me either.
But she's like, that's shocking because she won 2 Oscars in 5 years. That's crazy. Yeah. And then bye. Renee Zellweger, too.
Yeah, she really did fall off after. Well, now she's doing good.
Yeah. Good?
Yeah. Big Little Lies is huge.
Speaking of which, she's not in Big Little Lies.
Who are we talking about?
Renee Zellweger.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you said Reese Witherspoon.
They're similar though. I bet Renee Zellweger hates Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, Renee Zellweger, it's because she had all the bad plastic surgery.
Mm-hmm. But even before that, she had been gone for a while.
Yeah. She has a messy personal life, right? 'Cause she'd be marrying people for a minute.
That only happened one time.
Didn't she marry the country guy and White Stripes?
But I don't think she was married to Jack White for like 5 minutes. I think the country guy was like literally 5 minutes, and I think Jack White was
like what, a day?
Well, they were together for like a year or a couple years.
That's weird.
Jack White has an interesting dating history, I guess.
Jack White's a fucking douchebag. I just saw this thing where he's like, I don't use cell phones. I look at everybody with their cell phones and I just think they're like sheep walking around. All this shit. And then this fucking journalist retweeted the interview and he was like, Jack White once called me from his cell phone at the airport to cuss me out about a review I did of one of his albums.
That's so funny to me when artists, actors, and musicians pop off on critics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, me too. That's awesome. Hey, you know what? Fuck you. Don't you ever do your job.
All right. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie.
And hi, my name is May, and this is the Drama Club.
Welcome.
This is the podcast about scandals and
Celebrities.
secrets,
Ooh, people that fell off movies.
gossip, Adrian Brody's face.
Renee Zellweger and her face.
And her new face.
When is the movie coming out?
I think it's after summer for sure, but I don't think it's like late. Like I don't think they're thinking it's gonna get awards. It's not like a December movie.
Have you seen Midsummer? How do you pronounce that shit?
Midsummer, yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Did you like it?
I did like it.
It's like everybody won't stop talking about it on the internet.
hmm It's definitely, I don't know. I think it's one of those cultural touchstones that like you have to like Get Out. You know, like when everyone was talking about Get Out, I think everyone should maybe see Midsummer.
I was gonna go watch it yesterday, but I accidentally got drunk and then I fell asleep.
It is a weird movie.
Yeah.
One thing that I do actually really like about it is the way there's visually things that sort of throw you off. It's like unsettling so that you're always sort of on edge. Just like the way that it's shot. And I like when things kind of make me nervous like that.
Right. That's cool.
Before men learned how to control fire and put it to work, it was man's greatest enemy. In much the same way, your emotions can be your own greatest enemy.
All right, guys. So I have a story for you. And this one's going to be about Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
All right. This story can be kind of hard to follow sometimes because it has a lot of characters, but I think you'll like it because it has a lot of drama. Also, this was a story I was pumped to have to listen to the music all week, so. All right, for this, I watched the Reels channel show, Fleetwood Mac, Breaking the Band. I also consulted the BuzzFeed article, 19 Things You Might Not Know About Fleetwood Mac, and the Ranker article, All of the Affairs and Backstabbing Behind Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. And also, they're behind the music, and as per usual, all the Wikipedias. So I wanted to do this story because when I was a little kid, my education, like when I was a toddler, but my mom basically educated me like this. It was like, A is for apple, spell apple. B is for bat, spell bat. And like, who's the coolest girl in the whole world? Stevie Nicks. Like that was like the one thing that it was like ingrained into me since I was like a little kid. And I used to wonder how behind the times they were in Guatemala, like since like this is happening to me in like the early 90s. But now that I think about it, if I had a kid, like I would be talking to them about like the music that I'm nostalgic about, like I don't know, like 90s R&B, 90s hip hop. So now that I'm older, I realize that it's not that people get behind, people just really associate music from a particular time in their lives. Like they just like hold on to that.
Right.
And I think that for a lot of people, that music is Fleetwood Mac. Okay, so Fleetwood Mac formed in London in 1967 as a blues band. It was founded by guitarist Peter Green, drummer Mick Fleetwood, guitarist Jeremy Spencer, and bassist John McVie. The name is taken from the last names of Mick and John. At the time, Peter, the frontman, was maybe the most famous of the band because he'd replaced Eric Clapton in his band, the Blues Breakers. So Peter was getting a lot of comparisons to Clapton, who in some circles is considered the best guitarist ever. And Peter was really fantastic in his own right, so these comparisons weren't necessarily out of line. Anyway, so this was the main original lineup of the band, but there have been some randos that have slid in and out over the last 50 years that we won't have time to get into because there were literally 18 other people at least. They released their self-titled debut in 1968, and it was a hit in the UK. I personally had never heard anything from this early blues iteration of the band, so I'd never heard this album and had no idea that the song Black Magic Woman is a Fleetwood Mac song. So the Santana motherfucking bop that everyone knows is a cover. The Santana version is pretty true to the original though, but of course Santana put some stank on it. It needed it needed the spiciness that he brought to it. All right, so the band releases a couple more blues albums over the next couple of years and does pretty okay. They had some number one hits and, they were like a mid-level band. Back in the day, it wasn't uncommon for acts to release at least an album every year, and they were doing that.
Meanwhile, everybody's still begging Rihanna to do anything.
Oh, yeah. And now she's like playing with people too.
I know. She's like, it'll drop next month.
So, yeah, they have a couple hits in the UK, and when they come to the US, they make a little noise here too. Meanwhile, their record label folded, so they were shopping for a new label. The Beatles tried to sign them to Apple Records, but it was kind of messy because Mick Fleetwood's brother-in-law was George Harrison. Since
Oh, wow.
Mick was married to Jenny Boyd, the sister of Patty Boyd, then wife of George Harrison. Patty will 1000% have her own episode
Oh, hell yeah.
because she might be the most important muse, certainly in rock, but probably of the whole 20th century. She has an insane life, infamously married both best friends, George Harrison and Eric Clapton. Anyway, so Jenny was 15 when she met Mick. So by this time, they'd been together around 8 years, and they had kind of a volatile relationship because Mick was a big drinker and partier. And his partner in crime was fellow big drinker and partier John McVie. But you'd think that John might start to slow down because he had, not too long before, met keyboardist and singer Christine Perfect in a band they used to play in together. And after that band broke up, he and Christine decided to give it a shot and get together.
Damn.
But because they were both touring musicians, him with Fleetwood Mac and her with a solo career she was trying to get to pop off, it just wasn't working. So Christine decided to give up her career and marry John and sort of follow Fleetwood Mac around. Our frontman, Peter Green, officiated their wedding. So Christine took John's last name and became known as Christine McVie. Anyway, John definitely didn't settle down once he married Christine because Christine was a fucking badass partying, drinking, smoking, straight West Coastin' ass bitch. And she partied just as much as all these dudes did. It's also important to note that not only was Christine a dope keyboard player and had a great voice, but she was also a very gifted songwriter. So this bitch was straight up a queen, killing it on all fronts, but she loved her mans and decided to sacrifice her career for him and for their relationship. And she was determined to be a sort of housewife.
Wow.
So it's 1970, and like I said, things are going well. That is until Peter Green took some bad acid at a hippie commune in Munich, which probably set off his previously dormant and or undiagnosed schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
It was literally one bad trip and like night and day. The next day, this fool was never the same to this day.
Wow.
Christine McVie said, quote, "Somebody gave him some bad acid. It freaked him out. I saw one Peter Green leave and a completely different one come back. Pale, one, depressed, a little mad, really." Peter suddenly felt guilty about the money he was making as a rock star because, of course, there were and are children around the world going hungry. So he gave all of his money and possessions away, and he wanted the band to do the same, which obviously is a big ask, and the band wasn't feeling it. Like, he essentially wanted the band to, from then on, play for charity only and just make enough money just to feed themselves.
We're not saints, dude. Fuck.
Yeah, so the band wasn't having it. He was having a full-on breakdown, and he left Fleetwood Mac. He still is a musician, but he struggles with mental illness and is an on and off recluse.
That's sad.
So our girl Christine joined the band since they were kind of in a tough spot and needed to retool anyway. She also drew the album artwork for their fourth album, Kiln House, that dropped that year. And imagine being that fucking talented. God, anyway. So now it's 1971, and the band is keyboardist / singer Christine McVie, drummer Mick Fleetwood, guitarist Jeremy Spencer, and bassist John McVie. They're still touring all around the world, but their music isn't necessarily popping off, like not the way that they thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
If they were around today, they'd be one of those bands that you'll always see like on the festival lineup, but you'd be hard pressed to think of more than one of their songs or two of their songs. I keep trying to think of an equivalent, but maybe like what was that band that had a couple of hits? Fun, I think.
Or yeah. Tonight.
Yeah. Where like they have like that song everybody knows, and then maybe like one or two other ones, but then
that's it.
Right, but they're still like making hella money. They're still touring and shit. They're like something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so there was a lot of work to be done if they were going to get to the next level. But in February, while on tour, Jeremy had a bad trip while on mescaline, and he had a hard time recovering. He was already kind of a weirdo, and I say that affectionately, but this sort of set him off. Anyway, right before the band was going to take off from San Francisco to LA, there was a huge earthquake in LA, and Jeremy, who had been dealing with a fragile state of mind after the mescaline incident, freaked the fuck out. He didn't want to go to LA. He was having really bad premonitions, and he was just in a really bad place. He pleaded with the band to cancel that leg of the tour, but they refused and made him go.
Oh, wow.
The day of their gig at the Whiskey A Go-Go here in LA, Jeremy Spencer left their hotel saying that he was going out for groceries. Next thing you know, he was gone for 4 days.
Jesus.
So Jeremy is fucking missing, and the band is freaking the fuck out. There's like a full-on search going on because they all know that he was like in a really bad place mentally. Finally, they somehow fucking find him, and it turns out that he was approached by a young man on the street named Apollos, who started talking to him about God.
Oh, gosh.
And Apollos took him to a spot nearby where all his homies were. And by homies, I mean fellow members of the Children of God cult. That night, they convinced Jeremy to join, and he's been a member ever since.
Jesus.
Infamously, the Children of God have very strong beliefs about sex and sexuality. They believe that they have sexual relationships with Jesus, and sex is a big part of how they express themselves spiritually, which has led to the abuse of children. Notable former members include Rose McGowan and the Phoenix family, River, Joaquin, Rain, Summer, and Liberty. Before his death, River said that the cult was ruining people's lives.
Oh.
All right, so the guitarist that got to replace Jeremy, a guy named Danny Kirwan, had toured with the band for a few years and was with the band for the next couple of years as they continued to tour and release albums. That is until late 1972, when Danny freaked the fuck out during a sound check, ran off into a bathroom, and repeatedly smashed his head against a wall, and then smashed his guitar. So they had to fire that fool. Danny, based on everything that I read about him, most likely suffered from severe depression and self-medicated with alcohol and drugs like LSD and mescaline. FYI, he had some of that bad trip Munich LSD and that bad trip cult mescaline.
Jesus Christ. Maybe y'all should not do drugs. You know, maybe it's not working out for the band.
If only it were that easy.
Right?
Mick's wife, Jenny, said, quote, "I think drugs and alcohol did Danny totally nuts in the end. His mental health continued to deteriorate, and he ended up homeless and died last year in London." Between 1972 and 1974, they keep churning out music, releasing their 7th, 8th, and 9th albums and touring. And they're successful, but they're still unable to take things to the next level. Meanwhile, John and Christine McVie's marriage is falling apart. The stress of being working musicians as well as bandmates was taking its toll. On top of everything, John's partying didn't really slow down, and he was drunk out of his mind most of the time by this point. Also, one of the guitarists that replaced Danny, named Bob Weston, started having an affair with Mick Fleetwood's wife, Jenny Boyd.
Jesus Christ.
So the band had to cancel their tour at the last minute and fire that fool. And so they had to go through a lineup change yet again.
Jeez.
So during this time, there was also a drama where their manager claimed that he owned the rights to the name Fleetwood Mac, and he straight up started a fake Fleetwood Mac with like all new members.
This is fucking crazy that they actually got it together enough to make rumors. Like how who in their right mind would stay in this band still, or like
right.
Yeah, like I don't think it's gonna happen. You know.
Well, they are making money. You know, like a good money,
but at what cost?
Right. But Mick Fleetwood, the drummer, he's not really a songwriter, so he's not. This is like all he has, you know. So, all right, so he's got to stay in. And John and Christina are married, so it's like fucking.
What are they gonna do?
Right, might as well. And then all these other people are like just going in and
dyin and
cultin,
going crazy and shit.
So this fool, their manager started a fake Fleetwood Mac with all new members and toured with that band for a while. So like, there was a good chance in the early 70s that you'd be like, oh, Fleetwood Mac is playing this show, all right, let's go. And it would be like straight up like 8 other people that you'd never heard of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the real Fleetwood Mac was kind of legally in a bind because Mick Fleetwood and John McVie had actually signed away the rights to their name in their very, very first contract.
Wow.
Because it was really that dude, Peter Green, who put them together. So at first they were actually called Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. And then they were like, all right, whatever. Because they were just like the rhythm section.
That's so horrible. These record companies are so fucking evil. What they do to these poor artists.
Especially this seems so obvious. Like that's your actual real
Band
fucking
name?
name. Like
Yeah.
that's your last name.
Last name, yeah.
So the real Fleetwood Mac was unable to work for over a year while their lawyers and record company worked something out for them. And during this time, everyone in the band is getting deeper into drugs and alcohol. John, in particular, is out of his mind on booze, and it's totally taken a toll on his marriage with Christine. And finally, when the band got their name back, they were in the middle of trying to retool after Bob's affair with Jenny Boyd. So the band decides to move from the UK to Los Angeles to see if a change of scenery can sort of give them a new perspective and a really sort of blank slate for the next album. So Mick Fleetwood is in town and goes to Sound City Studios to sort of check things out to see if that studio would be a good home base for the band to record the next album after they get settled. So Mick is getting a feel for the joint and asked the engineer to play him something from the last album that was recorded at the studio, which turned out to be a song called Frozen Love from an album called Buckingham Nicks by the duo of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Let's rewind a little and talk about what Lindsey and Stevie had been doing.
This episode has the most amount of people ever.
It's hella people.
It's so many people. I can't keep track.
When I was writing this, I kept thinking of that one meme of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he's like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that. I like that meme format.
Yeah, that meme is so good.
That one never dies.
All right, so Stevie, whose birth name I learned is Stephanie. I guess when she was a baby, she couldn't pronounce Stephanie, and it would always come out as something closer to Stevie, and they just called her Stevie ever since.
That's cute.
That's a really great name. I like girl names like that. It's really cute. It's funny because Lindsey Buckingham, Lindsey is a name that I guess you mostly hear for girls. Anyway, so Stevie was a senior in high school in 1966 and went to an after-school dance type situation. And Lindsey, who was a junior at the same school, was playing his guitar at some point, and he started playing California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas, which was a major bop at the time.
Yeah, it's funny. When you said they're moving to LA, that instantly got into my head. I was like, all the leaves are brown.
Yeah, and it's exactly that time.
Yeah. Nobody else moved to LA. There's too much traffic.
I think a lot of people are going to start moving away after all these earthquakes we've had this week.
Yeah, everybody was all fucking shook. Literally.
Yeah, I low-key hurt my back doing that thing during the earthquake. Okay, that was a major bop at the time. And Stevie, who had apparently always been a singer, not in a real or a serious way, but her family basically said that she'd just been a singing-ass kid since she was little, just constantly singing, but didn't do talent shows or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she was sort of feeling Lindsey and feeling the vibe and feeling the bop, and she just walked straight up to Lindsey and started singing to the song right next to him, and he started to harmonize with her. So they became friends, and soon after, more than friends, and cut to a couple years later, and Stevie has sort of been singing a little. She's been singing a little bit, like around town at bars and stuff, open mic type things, mostly folk songs. Mm-hmm. And Lindsey is actually becoming crazy, ridiculously good at guitar, and he's playing in a band called Fritz with some high school friends and asked Stevie to join. Within a few weeks, the band Fritz starts getting gigs opening for some big names like Jefferson Airplane, Janis Joplin, and Jimi Hendrix. Fritz never really popped off, though, and the band broke up 3 years later in 1971. After that, Lindsey and Stevie dropped out of college and moved from San Francisco to LA and started to write their own songs and record demos. Meanwhile, Stevie and Lindsey's relationship is super volatile. It sounds like Stevie is sort of...
They're not married yet. They're just dating?
They're just dating. Right. Yeah, they never get married, but they were like basically married.
Lindsey Buckingham?
Lindsey and Stevie were never married.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So their relationship is really volatile because Stevie thinks of music more as a hobby, while Lindsey's head is starting to get pretty big. He's starting to think of himself as a low-key musical genius, and he's determined to become a big artist.
Of course he does. Fucking men, am I right?
So Stevie has to take, you're going to hate this. Stevie has to take a bunch of waitressing gigs and cleaning gigs around town to support Lindsay while he's doing his tortured artist thing.
Oh my God.
So that he could focus on his guitar.
Are you fucking kidding me, Stevie?
So Lindsay's not doing anything but sitting in their apartment playing his guitar.
This is like, this reminds me of Daria. Do you remember when she has like a premonition of like what her life
Of
would
what it's like?
if she married Trent? And
Yeah.
she's like home
Yeah.
from the lab, and he's like just sitting on the couch thinking of new names for his fucking band.
You're right. Stevie is Daria in
Daria.
the future. She's future Daria.
What's Trent's band's name? Mystic Spiral.
Mystic Spiral.
I need that on a t-shirt.
Oh, I'm sure they have Mystic Spiral t-shirts.
Yeah.
Mystic Spiral is a better faked band name than, what was the one from Parks and Rec? Like Mouse Rat?
Yeah. I fell in the pit. You fell in the pit. I'll always remember because that was like around the peak of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon with the Roots.
Mm-hmm.
And he came on as a guest and they played that song and it was so good.
Really?
Yeah.
What, they had another jam, right? The one about the little horse. What was his name? Baby Sebastian?
Yeah.
Or like Lil Sebastian.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay, so he's Lindsay, on top of everything, is kind of being a huge dick to her and slapping her around.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And they're both drinking and doing drugs, which adds to the volatility of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about some of the jobs that Stevie had. She worked at Bob's Big Boy.
What?
Which I'm like, imagine like driving up to Bob's Big Boy, getting a burger,
Yeah.
and like it's like
Stevie
straight up
Nicks.
Stevie Nicks.
That's awesome.
All right, so Stevie, it's bad. The relationship is like real bad. She moves out on several occasions, but kept coming back because of the stress of trying to afford to live on her own. But I'm like, bitch, you were already supporting both of
Yeah,
them.
low key, you are living on your own.
Yeah, you are living on your own. She was just, I guess it, but then when you're like doing it and you actually are like physically alone, I guess it gets to you.
Yeah, it's hard.
Finally, their demos got the attention of someone at Polydor Records and they got a deal. And by 1973, they were ready to drop their album, Buckingham Nicks. So shit is starting to happen for them, and just in time too, because Stevie was like, finally, this was her red line. She was getting tired of supporting Lindsay's ass and was about to go back to school because she was, quote, sick of being miserable and I hate being poor.
Hey.
That's a vibe.
Yeah. That's a whole ass vibe in LA too.
So Stevie spent $111, which Wikipedia says is $626 in 2018 money.
Oh, damn, that's a lot.
On a white blouse for them to shoot their album cover.
Just her blouse or everybody's blouse?
Just hers.
Oh, okay.
Like, she was like, this is my album cover.
Yeah.
I gotta like, I gotta look good.
Yeah, I gotta bring it.
So she's like, got her white blouse on and they're shooting the cover, but then Lindsay makes her get naked.
What?
Nikki. He like makes her. Stevie did not want to get naked at all, and she cries through the whole shoot.
Aww.
So Lindsay keeps screaming at her, you're just a child, this is art.
Wow.
She says she felt, quote, like a rat in a trap. Low key, I love this album cover though. Like,
yeah,
she looks fucking beautiful, and Lindsay's hair is amazing. I'll never look at it the same way again though.
Yeah, that's awful.
So tensions are at an all-time high for these two, but now they have a record to promote.
Mm-hmm.
So they drop the album and go on tour to support it, but it mostly flops, and Stevie still has to keep her day jobs to support them.
God damn.
So back to Mick Fleetwood at Sound City Studios. The house engineer plays Frozen Love off of Buckingham Nicks, and Mick Fleetwood is like, Zam, who is that on guitar? And the engineer was like, that's Lindsey Buckingham. He's dope. He's actually in one of the studios right now working on some demos with Stevie. You want to meet him? So Mick meets Lindsey and essentially asks him on the spot if he'd like to join Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
But Lindsey says, Stevie and I have this thing going on. It's both of us or nothing. So Mick is kind of like, oh, I don't know. We already have a girl in the band. I think we're good on Stevie. But you know what? Let me take this to John and Christine and see what they think. So presumably John and Christine were on board because on New Year's Eve 1974, Christine, John, and Lindsay all meet at a Mexican restaurant.
Ooh, which one?
They don't say, so I think it doesn't exist anymore.
That sucks.
Christine, John, Lindsay, and Mick, actually. And then Stevie shows up later because she had a waitressing gig.
Yeah, she's got to fucking work.
She's got to work. She got to pay the bill. They were all like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you got this, Stevie."
That's fucked up.
No, actually, no, because the
other
previous
people,
members, like, they're good. Yeah.
they're making money.
So anyway, this marks the 10th lineup of Fleetwood Mac.
Jesus Christ.
And is, of course, the classic lineup that we all think about when we think of the band.
Yeah.
So in 1975, the band starts working on new music together for what would turn out to be their 10th album, simply titled Fleetwood Mac. Christine says that as soon as they got in the studio and she heard herself harmonize with Stevie, who she called the hippie, she got goosebumps and knew that they were onto something.
I bet. That's fucking awesome.
It's like magic. Like,
Yeah.
I got goosebumps when I heard that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Plus, everyone in the band loved to bullshit and party and party and bullshit. So they were all snorting hella coke,
Getting
drinking
drunk.
nonstop, yeah, smoking weed, and basically living that rock star lifestyle. Like,
That's awesome.
that's what you do.
Yeah.
So they had that in common, and I guess they were able to bond over that on some level. And so they had good chemistry.
Nice.
But John was the only one. Mick didn't give a fuck because, like, he's basically a glorified, like, session drummer.
Right.
You know? So he's like, whatever you guys want to do. But John was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to work.
All the partying and
Because-
stuff?
No. The music.
Oh.
Yeah. Because they'd been together as a band for almost 10 years at that point, and they were 9 albums deep, and Fleetwood Mac had essentially been a blues band.
Right.
And here comes Lindsay and Stevie to turn them into something a little bit more pop. And now it's what we call like easy listening adult contemporary.
Right.
Definitely more mainstream.
Yeah, AM radio shit.
Yeah. And he was kind of like, ooh, I don't know about this.
Motherfucker, it hasn't worked out for you the past 9 years.
Right.
A little bit of change will do you some damn good.
Right. Ooh, those sound like lyrics to a Fleetwood Mac song. A little bit of change will do you some damn good. You know, I started listening to the old version of Fleetwood Mac.
How is it?
It's really good.
That's crazy.
They're like really fantastic.
Isn't that crazy? Like when a band takes a while to make it, like most bands.
Yeah.
Then you go
Mhm.
back and listen to their early stuff. It's always amazing, and you're like,
Yeah.
what took so long?
Like they were popping off overseas.
Yeah.
It was just the US that was like,
Behind.
oh, okay, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't not successful here. They just weren't like that level.
Right.
Now that you mentioned that, it's like Amy Winehouse pops off on Back to Black, and then you go back and you listen to Frank, and you're like,
What
holy
the fuck?
shit.
Yeah. Or like No Doubt. If you
Yep.
go back and listen to their self-titled albums, they're so
Yeah.
fucking good.
They're so good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so John is kind of like, oh, I don't know, man.
Shut up, John.
But after hearing some early cuts of the songs, one of the engineers basically sat this fool down and was like,
Listen to this.
he was like, they were like, listen to this. This is your shortcut to become huge. Get your head out of your fucking ass. This is incredible. And he was kind of like, oh shit. Okay, well, let me shut up then. So the engineer was absolutely right. They dropped the album and it was a smash. It hit number 1 in the US and sold over 7 million copies.
Wow.
The first single, Over My Head, made waves. The second single, Say You Love Me, made even more waves. That's a bop. And both of these were Christine's songs, so she was definitely feeling herself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But then the third single, Rhiannon, Stevie's motherfucking bop caught
Come
fire.
on.
And suddenly they were everywhere.
That's so awesome.
And the world really fell in love with Stevie because she was beautiful. She was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
She has a very interesting voice.
She's a whole ass vibe.
Yeah. And she had this like witchy vibe,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
She's a witchy woman.
Both like in her look and in her lyrics and stuff.
Remember when we saw the drag queens for your birthday?
Yeah, yeah.
And one of them
And
did Rhiannon. She did
Yeah.
all Stevie Nicks, all Fleetwood Mac.
she did like 3-4 Stevie songs.
and she
Or
was dressed
did like
in all black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she was witchy vibes. Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
So she had like this. Her whole vibe was like something that no one had ever heard or seen before.
Right.
So suddenly she was a huge star. And that totally rubbed Lindsay the wrong way.
Uh-oh. Because he's the one.
Right. He saw himself as this genius.
Fuck you.
But but it was a fuck you, Mystic Spiral.
Sit your ass down.
but it was, so now he's like popping off, but really it's because of Christine's songs and Stevie's songs.
Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Stevie was basically only in it still for funsies. Like, she could have not, after that she could have been like, oh, dope, and like just
done her own thing.
Moved to New Mexico and like been a fucking witch. Like, she was
like, she wasn't trying to make
cool
this her gig. She was just having fun.
Yeah, exactly. So she was like, she talks about how she would have been perfectly happy going back to school. She was talking about that, like she wanted to go back to school and maybe just play in the band on the weekends or something. And then she said, quote, "I did not ask to be the one to become the most famous. I was just fine being a total backup for Lindsay. The moment the people started to single me out, it caused trouble." Not to say that Lindsay isn't talented. He's musically the most talented in the group. And he's the one that really takes all the ideas from all the other members and mixes them together to form a cohesive song. And then he like throws his specific flavor on it.
Of course. So, of course. They're all very talented.
They're all like insane. Maybe not Mick. Well, he's a good drummer, but no, but they are all huge. They're geniuses, all of them.
Yeah, of course. But he has fragile masculinity. He could have like just been like, okay, Stevie, this is your moment. Like, he could have used this for something. Instead, it got to his ego.
Yeah, he was super hurt, and so definitely without him, there's no Fleetwood Mac as we all know it. But obviously his ego took a big hit, and he took it out on Stevie and on the rest of the band.
Oh, man.
Also on that album, but not a single, was the song Landslide, which wouldn't become a hit until 20 years later after the Smashing Pumpkins covered it and people started to discover it. That's insane to me. How do you ignore that song for 20 years?
Really insane to me.
So by 1976, the band had been on tour and basking in the success of the album, but things between the members of the band are totally fucked. John and Christine's marriage ended after 8 years and they decided to separate. Stevie tells a story about when they were touring for that album, Christine would have to hide in Stevie's room because John would get wasted and start pacing through the hotel hallways yelling and looking for her until hotel security would inevitably have to subdue him.
Wow.
Christine and Stevie have a really cool relationship. Like, they're besties, they're homegirls. They always talk about, like, no matter what was going on between, like, all the members of the band, they were always, like, there for each other. They're like sisters.
That's awesome. They're probably, like, each other's
rocks.
Yeah, like, you just, what is that? Like, you just tell each other everything? Like,
confidants.
There you go.
Yeah. And Lindsay and Stevie finally broke up after almost 10 years together. All of this behind the scenes drama was all up in the press because they were one of the most popular bands in the country. So they had a lot of eyes on them, and it was almost impossible to hide what was going on. So everyone was like, damn, with all this drama, you guys are really about to do a follow-up to like this, to like a smash album. So there's a lot of pressure, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, how, Sway? So all their shit is already out there as they start recording their next album in Miami in 1976. Now, maybe if you've got 5 legendary cokeheads in a band, Miami isn't the place to record your album.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe if it hasn't gone so well for you at communes, you stop going to communes.
Or maybe it is. Who knows? Because magic started happening.
That's true, though.
They were recording 20 hours a day for 11 straight months.
Because they were fucking coked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe, like, you do have to be in Miami.
That's fucking crazy.
As we know, everyone in the band is fucking fighting and can barely even speak to each other. Christine says that the only way they could even attempt to communicate was through music.
That's wild.
So Lindsay writes the song, which would later become the first single and a humongous hit, Go Your Own Way.
Oh my God.
He wrote that song as essentially a fuck you to Stevie.
Wow.
Letting her know that she could get the fuck out of his life.
Yeah.
You can go your own way. So after hearing that...
I'll take it. Any way I could get it, I'll take that song. That song is a bop.
So after hearing that, Stevie wrote what would become the next single and their biggest hit, the motherfucking bop #1 song, Dreams.
That's so awesome.
Stevie wrote that as a response to Lindsay to tell him that she was fine with them being over. Like, she was basically like, all right, do whatever you want to do. After hearing you can go your own way, she was like,
fuck
yeah.
you. Yeah. She was like, I will. And what?
She's like, I've been going my own way.
Bye. Have a nice life.
Thank you, next. Dreams was the OG. Thank you, next.
That's awesome.
So Christine says that when she first heard Stevie play Dreams, she thought it was trash.
What?
Because Stevie, this story is cool because I guess they were recording in the same studio as Sly and the Family Stone.
Oh, shit.
And Sly had built sort of, now that we know about R. Kelly, this sounds shitty, but it wasn't. But Sly had built like a bedroom in the studio, sort of like off to the side.
Uh-oh.
So Stevie went to Sly's bedroom and like laid in his bed, and it was all like, the Family Stone is like funk music. It's all like funkadelic and shit. And she said she was like lying in his bed and looking at all his like funkadelic ass like furniture and shit.
Yeah, fur and shit.
Yeah, she said like the song came to her in like 10 minutes. She wrote it on a guitar, recorded it, like 3 chords. So she says like low-key it kind of was trash. Like it was like kind of basic.
Super rough.
Yeah. So she takes it to the band and Christina's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, that's trash. But then Lindsay is like, no, hold on. I think you got something. And he turns it into the song that it is.
Dude, this is so crazy.
Lindsay had to take it, a song that's about him being an asshole. And he was the one who turned it into a real song. Awesome. And he talks about how shitty it was to have to do that over and over and over again because all the songs are basically about him being an asshole.
Yeah.
All the Stevie songs. So he says it sucks because when you break up with someone, you don't want to see their face. You don't want to talk to them. You don't want to do anything. But his job was to hear Stevie's innermost thoughts about him over and over and to process them and turn them into something special and integrate them into his music. So it fucking sucked. Meanwhile, the McVies had broken up, but technically are still married. So, there's, they're holding on to the possibility, I guess. Or at least John is.
A fucking disaster. Oh my God. I wouldn't want to be like 10 feet from this fucking recording studio.
When you see all the interviews of the engineers and stuff talking about this, they talk about how like fucking crazy it was. They're like, they were recording 20 hours a day. So one engineer was like, it was like 17 hours of fucking fighting.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
Like 2 hours of recording and then 1 hour of them like
actually
hanging
getting
out,
together.
like having fun.
Oh my God.
So anyway, so John and Christine are technically still married, but then Christine starts having an affair with the band's lighting director.
Ooh.
So she writes the next single, Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow, to tell John that he needs to move on, basically.
Oh, wow.
And she also writes the next single, You Make Loving Fun, about the lighting guy to throw it in John's face.
God damn. This is fucking awful.
Anyway, all this shit, I wish they would have had a documentary crew filming all this.
Imagine.
Yeah, it would be amazing, but too much drugs, they can't have that on camera. Anyway, all this shit is still in the press and fans are gossiping about it, so they decide to call the album Rumors. And it drops in the spring of 1977 and the world collectively loses its mind.
Yep. Forever.
Yeah. We're still shook.
Yeah,
we're still listening to this shit.
One of the best albums ever.
Yeah. The album would go on to sell 40 million copies.
That's crazy.
And is currently the 8th best-selling album of all time.
Damn. I believe it. Well deserved. Who's 1 through 7?
Thriller, Eagles, Greatest Hits. I feel like the Greatest Hits shouldn't count.
No, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Or like those one albums.
Yeah,
it's like all their number
one
ones.
One of them is up there.
That's not fair.
I think when this dropped, I think it became like the third. It actually knocked Eagles Hotel California off of the number 1 when it dropped. So it was like it might have been either the best selling or like number 2 best selling album of all time when it dropped, and then now it's like 8th.
Sometimes I'll put on Hotel California when I'm running because it's like fucking 7 minutes long. So I'm like, if I could get like to like almost a mile by the end of the
Yeah.
song, I feel really good
That's really good.
because it's so
Th-
long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, you should find an exactly 8-minute song or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always wonder about the Eagles because I know like 3 Eagle songs, and I wonder
Yeah.
like how are they the best-selling album?
I don't know. It's like it's just that it's the right time too. Like they were at their peak at peak like album sale time too, because like
Yeah,
that doesn't
it's
really
true.
happen anymore.
Right.
You
No
know?
one has ever. I looked at the list after reading that they were the 8th, and I was like, damn, no one is the last person to really even
Sell
make a
albums?
splash was Adele.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was,
Adele
like,
be
10
selling
years ago?
albums. Yeah. But it's kind of shocking because she's in this century and basically everything else is like from the previous century.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, a lot of people attribute the album's success to the gossip surrounding the band's behind the scenes issues because, as we know, people love drama.
Yep.
It won the Grammy for Album of the Year. And besides the bops that we already talked about, also featured the hit bops Secondhand News by Lindsay, Gold Dust Woman by Stevie,
Oh
and
wow.
the only song written by all 5 members, the mega bop, The Chain.
Yeah, I love The Chain.
The Chain is so fucking good.
That whole album's so good. That's actually one of the only, CDs. I still have a CD player in my car because my car is old. That's one of the only CDs I actually have,
Yeah.
and that like I'll just throw
That's a
in
good one.
sometimes. That one. I have the Bob Marley one. That's a good one
Mhm.
too. That always reminds me of that Will Smith movie too, because that's the only CD he still has.
What Will Smith movie?
The one I Am a Legend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I always think about that's a good ass CD.
Yeah. Okay, so now Fleetwood Mac was the biggest band in the world,
Yep.
and they were more famous and making more money and doing more drugs than most of us can ever imagine.
That's awesome.
But at least they tried to get some of their drug use under control by going to rehab before going on tour.
Like together, like the four of them.
Like they all went to different rehabs, I think.
Oh my god. I want to go to rehab with you, man. Like the two of us will sign up for the Betty Ford clinic together. And like a mini vacation.
Yeah, let's all go. That sounds fun.
They shared a
Let's all
room
go.
and shit.
For their iconic Rolling Stone cover shot by Annie Leibovitz, Annie showed up with a huge bag of Coke. I think we've talked about this before. Thinking that she thought she was just being nice because apparently that was super common in 77. She was like, you just, you're being a good host, basically. Like you show up with this huge bag of Coke.
Right.
And she said that there was an awkward silence as the band all looked at each other.
And they're all sober.
And they're all sober. But how long have they been sober? Like a few weeks maybe or something?
Right. 28 days.
And she said that they all looked at each other in silence. And then one of them said, fuck it. And they all did the Coke until it was gone.
Wow. Which one is the one with that Annie Leibovitz shot? They're in the bed or they're...
In the bed. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Annie has said that she's worked with all kinds of rock stars over here. People forget that Annie Leibovitz was like a rock and roll photographer early in her career because now she shoots like
the fucking queen.
The queen, yeah.
I always think about. Do you remember the last time she shot Queen Elizabeth, like in her parlor or whatever the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling Queen Elizabeth to like take off something. She's like, "Can you put down the scepter or something?" Because Queen Elizabeth has like the fucking crown, the fucking robe, the fucking scepter, and they're in this like fucking ridiculous room. So Annie Leibovitz is like, "Would you mind putting down the scepter?" And the queen fucking loses it.
No way.
Yeah, she fucking leaves the room. She's like, "You don't know anything about like royal protocol or all this." She gets so mad at her.
God.
And Annie's just like, "Bitch, do you look at how ridiculous this picture is?"
I gotta look at that picture now.
It's really cute. They're like filming while Annie's doing the photo shoot.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing all the people that Annie knows and like the
that's-
stories that she must have.
Oh yeah, fucking amazing.
All right. So anyway, Annie said that she worked with all kinds of rock stars over her career, but she's never seen anyone go through that much coke so fast before or since that day, including the Queen.
I wonder if she also brought the queen a fucking
Back Coke, Your Majesty,
Your Highness, Your Royal Highness. This is that fucking picture I'm telling you about. So the
Oh, she looks dope. I
and
love
then
that
look at
picture.
this fucking room they're in.
Yeah. God. Is that her bedroom?
I don't know what the fuck that is. So see, she has all this shit, but she also
Yeah.
had like a scepter, and Annie Leibovitz was like, "Would you mind?"
She looks amazing.
Yeah,
In
that's
what
true.
other context would you ever have to tell someone to put your scepter down, though?
Right? Just in a fucking fairy tale. All right. Anyway, sorry, me.
Okay, so in that photo, they're all in a big bed together to kind of poke fun at the public perception of them.
That's
But-
cool.
But John and Christine weren't speaking,
Ooh.
and Stevie and Lindsay weren't speaking either.
Oh my god.
So neither of the couples wanted to lay next to each other in the bed. So Mitch and
Yeah.
Stevie, and then Lindsay and Christine were paired together with John kind of off to the side.
Oh my god.
Then Annie shot them like that for a couple of hours, meanwhile getting them plastered on bottles of champs.
Hell yeah.
Stevie says that being all cuddled with Mitch for those hours was where the seed was planted for their affair with him, for her affair with him,
Oh
Which-
my god.
which would begin about a year and a half later. Mitch really loves Stevie. Like
Aw.
if you hear him talk about that affair, he talks about it with such fondness and like loss. It's really nice.
I was
and
just
sat-
thinking, how come nobody throws him a bone?
Well, enter our girl Stevie. So like the way he talks about it, it's kind of sad to some extent because I'm not sure that Stevie felt that way about him.
Yeah.
I think she was having fun with a friend, someone she felt safe with.
It's like
you
a
know?
rebound.
Yeah, kind of. So after a couple hours of drinking, Annie was finally able to convince Mitch and Lindsay to switch places. And so she shot them like that for another couple of hours, during which Lindsay and Stevie started making out.
Oh shit.
And Stevie says they made out for hours, like while they finished up the shoot. And they briefly rekindled the relationship for a while after that.
God damn, this photo shoot is fucking legendary.
The Rumors tour was, of course, an unprecedented success. And meanwhile, John and Christine pulled the trigger and got divorced. And Mick Fleetwood also divorced his wife, Jenny. So things were still fairly rocky for the band, especially because now the pressure was on to make a follow-up to Rumors. I can't imagine
I know,
pressure
me
for
either.
this.
Like, there's nothing you could do. You're not gonna make another Rumors.
Right. And everybody was calling it Rumors 2. They're like, when are you going to drop Rumors 2? Rumors 2? And then, that just fucking...
That fucking
Sucks.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Lindsay was now the de facto leader of the band, and it was basically him that was calling the musical shots. He liked to think of Fleetwood Mac as his band now, and he really wants the band to push the envelope for the next record, and he wants to make a punk album.
Wow.
So
what?
he cuts his 70s ass hair, starts wearing eyeliner, and makes some demos of some punk Fleetwood Mac songs.
Oh.
But he sort of got a reality check when the rest of the band was completely bored by his songs, laughed at his new look, and basically ignored him to do more coke.
Oh man.
So he was forced to give up a little creative control after this. But he still did some weird experimenting and production on the album, like using cardboard boxes for percussion or infamously enlisting the entire USC marching band for the title track, Tusk. I really like that song, Tusk.
Yeah.
The record label gave them the largest budget ever up until that point to produce that album, and they spent every last penny of the $1 million budget that they were given. What came out was the 1979 double album Tusk, which went on to sell 4 million copies, but was considered a massive failure and a flop compared to Rumors.
Well, you went from 40.
40 to 4.
four.
That's what fucking sucks.
I
Like,
mean,
you're never...
No.
There's no... You can't break every record and then...
Come back and
everything
do
is-
it again.
Every single thing is going to look like a massive failure
Of
in
course.
comparison.
And it's not a failure, actually, but
Right. So the band and their record label blamed Lindsay for Tusk's quote-unquote failure. But the album was a critical success and in hindsight contains a lot of classic Fleetwood songs. Christine also almost quit the band around this time because she started dating their sound director this time.
damn, Christine. Take it easy.
Yo. And he wanted her to quit so that he could produce her solo album.
No.
No, thank you.
No, thanks. I think I'm going to stay with Fleetwood Mac. You know what I mean? I think we're doing all right.
They went on a 113-date, 11-month tour to support Tusk. In Europe, they co-headlined with Bob Marley.
Jesus Christ. Hey,
That-
that's
who-
crazy. Those are the
Yep.
2 CDs I said I had.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck?
Who went to these shows? They
Fucking
must have been incredible.
stoners.
So anyway, you would think that they would be tired because they've been, I mean, especially the 3 original to core members, because they've been working nonstop for what, 12
10
years
something
more.
years, yeah.
Anyway,
Damn, do you
so-
think there's like any recordings of them jamming out with Bob Marley?
Oh, like behind,
On
like
the Waylons?
backstage
Oh,
and stuff.
Fuck me.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
die to hear like Stevie and Bob sing together.
Oh my god! Whoever finds that recording on some like shitty
We
8-track
will pay
tape or
you
something
for that.
Maybe Bob didn't fuck with them though because they were coked out,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's true.
But they were smoking too. They talked
Yeah.
about Stevie talks about how they used to do the kind of weed, and I bet they got this weed from Bob. She was like, you wouldn't even have to smoke it. You would just get high just being in the room with it.
Of course.
And I was like, in the 70s, y'all had like some
Good ass
2000s
weed?
weed.
Yeah. Bob Marley did.
So anyway, you think that they would be tired, but they were each making around $250K a night on tour.
Oh, I'm not tired. I wouldn't be tired for that either.
And they really needed to finance the lifestyles that came along with that. Because when you're making that kind of money, you're spending that kind of money, you know?
Right. Coke is expensive.
Yeah, true. And Christine had famously bought twin Rolls Royces, which is that's some hip hop shit.
One for me and one for my boo.
So she bought twin Rolls Royces right after rumors dropped.
She's Cardi B.
She is Cardi. Cardi doesn't even know how to drive and got 2 Lambos or something.
Yeah, so stupid.
But I thought it was dope. I guess Christine had custom license plates made,
Hell yeah.
and she had each license plate was named after her 2 dogs.
That's fucking
And I was
sick.
like, damn, Christine
a
is my new
flex.
favorite.
Imagine the mirror they did Coke off of.
Oh my god. Most expensive mirror in the world. No, it was definitely probably like some gypsy ass shit.
Yeah.
Stevie brought it. It had like crystals on it. So anyway, the whole band were known to spend $30K a day just on separate limos and jets because they couldn't stand to like be around each other.
Oh my god.
So just transportation, they're dropping 30 grand a night.
right.
And they'd also have food from their favorite Mexican restaurant in LA flown privately to them anywhere they were in the world.
Oh my god.
That's a flex right
That's
there.
that's so unnecessary.
And of course, they were balling out on cocaine.
Yep.
By the time he quit, Mick estimated, based on doing an eighth of coke every single day for his whole career, that he'd done the equivalent of 7 miles of lines.
Oh my god.
So it should be no surprise, spending as much as that Mick goes bankrupt in 1979,
Wow.
despite actively being in the biggest band in the world.
Yeah.
And he also didn't write any songs, so he didn't get royalties like the rest of the band.
Oh no.
Plus, he lost $3 million in a real estate scam.
Oh my god.
He's fucking doing the most. That's why Mick is like, whenever there's a reunion or something, he's gonna do it for sure. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even a question. Mick is like, I'm in.
Yeah,
And then everybody
he's not
else
even
is like,
cutting up that paper.
no, we good. Christina's like, I got like 8 Rolls Royces now. I'm good. All right. So the early 80s saw solo albums from Lindsay, Stevie, and Mick, followed by Fleetwood Mac's 13th album, Mirage, in 1982. The album was purposely made more in the style of Rumors since everyone blamed Lindsay for the stylistic departure of Tusk. It had some hits on it, but they could obviously never replicate the success of Rumors. The band went on an extended hiatus during which they released more solo projects to varying degrees of success, and John McVie suffered a seizure related to his alcohol and drug use while on his boat, and it was nearly lost at sea.
Wow.
Also, Stevie finally tried to get clean for real this time after she burned a dime-sized hole in her septum from all the cocaine use.
Oh my god. It's actually shocking that none of them died of an overdose.
Died?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That they all say that. Like, and they're behind the music, they're like, we should be dead.
Yeah.
So the doctors told her that they could and should try to repair it, but they suspected that sealing up the hole would alter her voice. So despite how painful it was and continues to be, she just opted to live with it.
Wow.
So she entered the Betty Ford Clinic
Hell yeah, baby.
and kicked the coke addiction But then they got her addicted to Klonopin, which is what they used to wean her off the coke. And she battled the Klonopin addiction for another 8 years.
Jesus.
In 1987, they finally dropped another album called Tango in the Night, which became their biggest selling album after Rumors, because it included a few bops like Christine's Little Lies. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Yeah, that's a good ass song.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
Christine actually has like a lot
bops.
of like the good bops. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the band scheduled a tour to promote the album, but at a meeting at Christine's house in August, right before the tour, things got heated between Lindsay and Stevie.
Damn it.
And they got into a physical fight. They fought each other all the way out of the house. Like Stevie was trying to like throw him out. And Lindsay threw Stevie across the hood of a car.
Oh, shit.
And he quit the band the next day.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. They toured and released an album without Lindsay in 1990, and Stevie left the band after that tour.
Wow.
The band figured that this marked the end of Fleetwood Mac. And it was until a dude named Billiam Jefferson Clinton requested that they reunite to play his inauguration in 1993.
That's so fucking awesome.
That's a gangsta move too.
Bill Clinton was a gangster, dude.
Yeah, he was. And he was like, also let me play saxophone in the band. Oh, there's not a saxophone in Fleetwood Mac? There is now.
I'm president now. For my first thing I'm gonna do is bring back Fleetwood Mac, and I'm gonna join. Then somebody come over here and suck my dick.
Signed and delivered. So anyway, so they came back together, and they did it because Bill's campaign song was "Don't Stop."
Aww.
So they were all honored to come together one last time for him.
Yeah.
The reunion reignited the interest of old fans and even earned them some new ones, and also that Smashing Pumpkins song had just popped off.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, so it's perfect. So Mick, John, and Christine released a couple of poorly received albums under the name Fleetwood Mac. Because, I mean, you're missing Lindsay and Stevie. That's
it right there.
That's all anyone really wants, really.
Yeah.
And they went on tour as part of a sort of like oldies review, which is kind of shitty, with like Pat Benatar and REO Speedwagon.
Oh, that kind of sucks. REO Speedwagon's got some bops, though.
Hey, Pat Benatar has some bops.
Yeah,
Love is a Battlefield. That's my jam. So they were really at an all-time low at this point. And in 1995, Christine said that she was retiring.
Aww.
So
it's all right. She's got those Rolls Royces to keep her warm.
She good. And she low-key a hoe, too. So
yeah, she real good.
So, yeah. So that was it until Stevie and Lindsay reunited for a duet for the song Twisted from the Twister soundtrack.
What the fuck?
I've never heard the song before. Now I want to listen to the Twister soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which, that song, actually, they got Mick to play drums on it. So the whole ass band just decided to reunite in 1997. And they filmed a live concert called The Dance, which is widely considered to be one of the all-time great concerts.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was such a hit that they went on a mini tour to promote it, and just in time for them to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1998.
That's so cool. Who inducted them?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's crazy to see who got inducted and who didn't, because there's so many people in Fleetwood Mac. So it's like the 5 that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Also Peter Green and
ooh, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, and Jeremy. But like there were a couple people who were integral to that time who didn't get inducted, and it's weird.
Oh, that sucks. Anyway,
they released another album after this and went on tour a few times, mostly without Christine, who retired for 16 years.
Wow.
But she officially rejoined in 2014. Lindsey Buckingham was officially fired in 2018.
He must be a huge dick, huh?
He's a huge dick for sure. After a falling out with the band over the set list for their upcoming tour and an outburst he had before an award show because the producers wanted them to come out to a recording of Stevie's song Rhiannon.
Dude,
you know
relax.
how like always at the Oscars or whatever, they like when someone is walking out on stage, they play a song, and he wanted it to be, I guess, one of his songs.
Oh my god, who the fuck cares?
Yeah, nobody fucking cares.
Just Lindsay.
So he had like some huge fucking tantrum, and anyway, and they were like, "You out, my dude." Lindsay filed a lawsuit against Fleetwood Mac in October 2018 for breach of contract, and the lawsuit was settled in December 2018.
Wow.
He says he's open to rejoining the band.
No, bro.
But says that he was told by Fleetwood Mac's manager that Stevie had a message for him. And it was, quote, Stevie says she never wants to be on stage with you again. Period. And so it seems like the drama of Fleetwood Mac continues.
That's
or
awesome.
at least those are the rumors.
Hey, nice
What's
landing,
up with that?
man. There you
What's
go.
up with that?
Good job, man.
Thanks.
That shit was crazy.
It's crazy. And
how could a band so successful be so fucking messy?
And how are they still together? Anybody else would have been like, fuck it, you know?
How are they still alive?
Yeah, true.
All that coke.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
If you get a chance to, I guess, see the remaining members of Fleetwood Mac on tour, it could be like they're getting old.
Yeah,
It
you
could
should
be
do
like
it.
your last chance.
Yeah, you should totally do it. I would go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, that was this week's episode.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. Hit us up on Instagram and Twitter at Drama Club Pod and on the website dramaclubpod.com.
On the hotline, 505-539-0556. And at our P.O. Box, P.O. Box number 27433, Los Angeles, California, 90027.
Tune in Monday for our Afternoon Delight episode.
Goodbye.
Bye.
However, whatever with your however.